In today's Leeds news, Kinnear on Adams and Sinisterra exits, Willie Gnonto's wobble, Ampadu was brilliant, and Cody Drameh the one that got away. Hey folks, Jer here on the 8th of September with your Leeds United news. A couple of things just to get into before we get into the news. In relation to content for next week, I'm away next week in New York with work. I will try and get some type of content out during the week, but with time zone shifts, it might be a bit tricky. So if you see inconsistent content from me next week, it's due to the fact that I'm away. I am bringing a mobile kit with me, but I am working all of the week, so it's a pretty long week for me. But I will hopefully be able to get some stuff out to you guys during the course of next week. But I should be back in all. I'm going on Saturday and wait till the following Monday, so I should be back in play by the following Tuesday. But as I said, I'll try and get some stuff out. We will try and get a podcast out, recorded tonight or tomorrow for everybody. Members will get it Friday, everybody else will get it Saturday, so that'll be some extra content. And we will talk about a couple of stuff that's gone on the Square Balls podcast with Angus Kinnear, which we're going to cover a few bits on here as well. Should also pointed out, go check out the Square Balls podcast with Angus Kinnear. It's an excellent interview. Dan Moylan, for me, one of the best interviewers when he's in his rhythm with somebody that's outside the normal group. It's just a really good interview. And fair play to Angus Kinnear for fronting up as well, because it was go check it out. You'll know what I mean. Also, just one real quick thing just on the channel. Yesterday, I uploaded the video. I deliberately lowered the volume on it because several people have been asking consistently that the volume is too high. I know the volume on the intro is probably a little bit ear-piercing at times for people. I don't do this as a full-time job. This isn't something I'm an expert in, so I'm a social media strategist. I'm not an editing guy or an audio guy, so the intro is going to be what the intro is. Unfortunately, I tried to lower everything down yesterday, which caused more problems than it did fix. I did delete the video yesterday and re-uploaded it, which has caused me a whole lot of other sets of problems with the algorithm. But I just want to make clear to everybody, wasn't done with deliberate action. I was trying to fix things, but going forward, the audio is going to be what the audio is going to be. Unfortunately, I don't have the expertise to make it any better than it is, and I have a full-time job as well, and this has just been done outside of that. So it's I'm very stuck on time. So I apologise if there was any issues yesterday. I apologise if it inconvenienced people, but hopefully going forward it'll be okay. So right, that's that stuff out of the way. We'll get into this now. We'll start off with the Angus Kinnear situation, and we'll talk about the Adams and Sinisterra exits. Angus Kinnear appeared on the Square Ball podcast to talk about last season, the last 18 months pretty much, and everything that's gone on at the club and all of the issues that were faced. As I said, go check out the podcast. We will talk about it in our podcast this week because there's just so much stuff that comes up in this that's really worth talking about and getting into and getting people's opinion on. As I said, again, massive shout out to Dan Moylan and to Michael Normanton as well, who did a fantastic job with this as well. What was it going to be? Always going to be an uncomfortable interview. And again, credit to Angus Kinnear for actually fronting up and sitting there and taking it, because as I said, it wasn't going to be a comfortable situation for him. Dan Moylan did push him consistently on the Louis Sinisterra and Tyler Adams situation about them leaving the club. I wanted to know why they left. Did they need to leave? And how much pressure did they put on the club to get away from the club? Kinnear's body language took a serious turn at this point. His facial expressions, particularly on this. He discussed at length that the length the players went to get out of Leeds this summer, and how surprised they were at the extent that some players went to leave Leeds. With the players that we're talking about here in Adams and in Sinisterra's situation, he said he was surprised at how vehemently they wanted to get away from Leeds United. He said they wanted out, and they were going to go to any length to get out of the club, and that was disappointing, he said. But they there's a way to leave a club, he said, and then they chose the opposite way instead. Asked again around what that they did, because there were rumours that the players have both threatened to sue the club, which would be a very American thing to do in a UK club, would be to sue the club. But at the very least, both players looked at taking legal action against Leeds United over the application of their release clauses, where Leeds had been convinced that both clauses had expired. Both players were determined to take the legal route to get out of Leeds, and no matter what Leeds said or did, both players were determined to leave Leeds this summer. Asked if he would rather if both players had stayed, or if Sinisterra had stayed at the club, he gave a straight no. He wouldn't want them to stay at the club. Basically, we want players to be at Leeds. We want to be at Leeds, and these players did not want to be at Leeds. But he said basically the length that they went to wasn't professional, and they won't be on the club's Christmas card list. Whatever about players coming back, and I think I said about Sinisterra, the possibility of him going out on loan retains the value of a player who's could be a very exciting player for Leeds to have in the Premier League next season. And maybe you send him out on loan, same with Jack Harrison. And when they come back next year, you're in the Premier League and you've got these players who you just couldn't afford to buy in any kind of situation normally. However, given the situations that have been lined out here, it looks increasingly impossible for any of these players to come back. Kinnear did say that they know that Sinistera's book value is higher than the offers they received. They did receive cash offers for him this year, and they turned them down because they were less than Leeds had paid for him and less than what Leeds value him at. And they say that a good season in the Premier League will increase his value, and Leeds will sell the player for more than what they spent on him when that comes around next season. So a terrible end for two players who we actually enjoyed playing last year. Tyler Adams, who I don't think any Leeds fan had a problem with playing last year, and Lewis Sinistera, who was exciting to watch when he did play the 13 matches that he did play or started last season. So they also pointed out Jayden Anthony was a player that was on their list of wingers that they wanted should they lose a winger from the start of the window, but after inquiring with Bournemouth, it was made clear that Jayden Anthony was part of their plans and wouldn't be leaving. So when it came down to the final day of the window and Bournemouth came in for him, it gave Leeds an opportunity to try and get Jayden Anthony in the deal, which Bournemouth did not want to include, but ultimately if they wanted to get Sinistera, they had to give Leeds Jayden Anthony, and they moved to do that. So Leeds may have benefit from this situation given the attitudes around Sinistera and Adams, and two players who, given their attitude and given how much they want to be around Leeds, it's no loss to Leeds United, and they will not be welcome back at Leeds United. So I think we've seen the end of both of those players. Moving on and talking about Willie Gnonto's situation, we got some clarity from Angus on this as well. On the podcast, he basically brought up the situation around Willie Gnonto, and he said we all know that Willie Gnonto has refused to play for Leeds on two separate occasions, and that was brought up. However, Kinnear has labelled it as Willie's situation being taken and blown out of proportion a little. He said that it's unfair in the situation that has been blown out of proportion. Willie had a wobble about an offer that came in during the window, which we assume is Everton. But he said that has all been resolved now and was resolved really quickly. We have heard that Willie Gnonto did approach Daniel Farke to apologise about the situation, stating that he had taken bad advice. In this piece, or in this interview, Kinnear basically says Willie went to the club, wanted to leave, has possibly taken some bad advice from an agent or a representative. It has been resolved. The player has apologised, has spoken to Daniel Farke, and according to Angus Kinnear and looking at Willie Gnonto's performances, the player is committed to Leeds, and he said we reckon he'll be an exciting player for Leeds this season and help us get back to the Premier League. So that situation has been resolved. It seems to be resolved in a far more mature way than Tyler and Luis Sinistera's situation. So it's great to see that, and it's great to see we'll have Willie Gnonto this season, and hopefully we don't get into the same arguments again coming into the January transfer window, which personally, I think there will be offers for Willie in January, especially if he has a decent season. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. Moving on to the international window, and Ethan Ampadu has been branded as brilliant during his performance for 45 minutes against Wales, against South Korea. Internationals are obviously happening this week. Some Leeds players are out on international duty. And Wales, I'm looking at a light on the camera. It's a ring light. So when I look down at my notes, I see a ring straight away. So I lose words when I do look down. So Wales and Willie look the same there. So anyway, Wales were taking on South Korea and put in a 0-0 draw in that game. The national media labelled Ethan Ampadu's performance as brilliant in the middle of the park. Ampadu has been a standout player for Leeds this season. We've seen some outstanding performances from him from a defensive perspective, and also from a midfield maestro position of starting moves and lovely diagonal angled passes into the final third of the pitch. So he's been really, really good. He's carried that form now into the international setup as well. Ampadu played 45 minutes before being replaced against South Korea. That was said to be keeping his legs for their game against Latvia during the week. Wales Online described Ethan Ampadu's performance as outstanding. They cited his positioning in the middle of the park, mopping up brilliantly, and broke up play, as well as getting involved in moves and key times as well. Joe Roden in this game, his performance was described as slightly more nervy, but he will be very happy with a clean sheet, and a 0-0 draw for him will allow him to sleep pretty easily, I'm sure, tonight, knowing that they kept a clean sheet. Glenn Kamara, also on international duty with Finland, was involved in their opening goal, and if you watch the opening goal, he finds these lovely pockets of space on the left hand side of the centre of the park. Great option for players as well. A lovely ball into the number 10, and a little pass into the goal scorer, gets the assist and gets the goal. But very good from Glenn Kamara as well. Starting to see what we can expect from him in a Leeds shirt. But I was really impressed with how he finds space in the pitch. So you look at how Ethan Ampadu does that really well as well. You look at both of them in there as well. Ilya Gruev didn't have as good a day, playing it the left-hand side of a back three was at fault for one of Bulgaria's goals. But again, you have a defensive midfielder playing in a centre-back role. It's probably not natural to him, so put that one aside, put down to positioning more than anything else. And then finally today, moving on, let's talk about Cody Drameh's situation. And Graham Smith at the YEP has been chatting about this on the Inside Elland Road podcast. Again, another podcast worth checking out. Basically, speaking to the Inside Elland podcast, he has been speaking about the right back position at Leeds United, stating there's been huge competition for that position. Leeds did allow Cody Drameh to move away from Leeds and join Birmingham on deadline day on a year-long loan in the final year of his contract. It should be pointed out that there is a buyout option in Cody Drameh's contract as well. Now, how that works is going to be an interesting situation, because I believe in January or December he can start talking to international clubs about a free transfer, about pre-contract agreements, as his contract to be over at Leeds at the end of the season. He can't do that with English clubs. They have to wait till the season finishes before they can approach him. So there could be some international offers for Cody there as well. Birmingham have the option to buy. Does that mean that they have to buy in January then? Or because if at the end of the season he's out of contract, he's a free agent, then you can just pick him up for nothing. So that situation is going to be an interesting one to see how that plays out. But Smith says that he believes that there is serious competition at the right back position, which I think we can all agree that Jed Spence coming in there adds a huge competition in that position there, and quality as well. And that Drameh may turn out to be for Leeds the one that got away. It should be pointed out that Cody Drameh has never really got a consistent run in the Leeds team, and his last performance for Leeds against Ipswich was a shaky performance, but he was playing at left back, which is not his natural position. That should be pointed out to be fair and balanced. However, being fair and balanced, it should also be pointed out that there are now been 3 separate Leeds United managers who have all made the exact same decision with Cody Drameh. Instead of playing him, have loaned him out. They've all talked about how much quality he has and how good a player he could be, but when push came to shove, they went with other players and they loaned Cody out. So 3 managers can't be incorrect, and especially when you look at the managers, 2 of the 3, especially Bielsa and Farke, you got Jesse Marsh in the middle there as well. All 3 decided that Cody Drameh was better to go out on loan than it was to stick around at Leeds and fight for his position. So that should be taken into context as well. But we've probably seen the last of Cody Drameh in a Leeds United shirt. Hope he has a really good career. I don't wish any ill feeling towards the player. He's a young player. He wants to play football every single week. That's admirable. And I wish him all the best in the future, but I don't think we'll see him in a Leeds United shirt again. That's going to be it for me today, folks. Appreciate everyone for watching and sticking with me, by the way. I really, really do. So thanks for that. And I will be back tomorrow morning with some more Leeds news and an update on tomorrow night's podcast. Have a great day. Talk to you soon.